Welcome to Sustainable Leadership Live. I'm Lisa Danforth, your host, and today I have Crissy Freeman, who is a divorce empowerment coach, sharing with us all of her gifts and her brilliance. Crissy, thank you for coming, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
I'm excited to be here.
Before we jump in, I just want to share a little bit about Crissy and her expertise within this. So with over 25 years of experience as an expert in the space of conflict resolution, Crissy provides clients with guidance on how to navigate challenging times as a co-parent and how to improve and sustain healthy relationships as a mom, a friend, and a partner, so that they can focus on creating a life that they truly desire. And today we are talking about getting back in the driver's seat after divorce. So let's jump right in. How did you get started in this? I'd love to sort of hear a little bit about that before we really dive deep.
Sure. So yeah, if you had asked me 10 years ago that I would be a divorce empowerment coach, I probably would have looked at you like you're a little crazy. But yeah, it was one of those things that, as life happens, things evolve and change. And sometimes things just sort of land in your lap as they should. And so that's really what happened here is, leaving a marriage is probably one of the hardest things that someone can go through, one of the hardest decisions, especially when there's children involved.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, as a child of divorce myself, the decision was really much harder. And the reason for that is when I went through the divorce as a young girl, I actually remember saying to myself, when I get married, I am never getting divorced. I'm not putting my children through this. And so that's what I did to myself. And so as my marriage started to fall apart, I was hanging on for dear life and saying, no, I'm not going to do this to them. Absolutely not. And so as, things evolved and, we really did work at the marriage, and really I just was getting smaller and smaller and really didn't know who I was anymore, besides being a mom. And so made the decision, the very difficult decision to leave. And after making that decision, or as I was making that decision, I guess, I said, okay, once this is over, I can create the life that I truly want. And I thought, leaving this marriage is the hardest thing I'm ever going to go through. So everything else is going to be a cakewalk, right? And so
You would think so.
yeah, you think so. And then, I remember actually distinctly sitting on my couch. My divorce was over. My children were at their dad's house and the house was quiet. And I remember sitting there just stuck in fear, like, what do I do now? I was facing guilt of leaving the marriage. I was facing, being worried about my children. Are they going to be okay? Financial insecurity, friendships, everything else that, was going to change moving forward. And I had no idea what step to take first.
It's so easy to lose your way and get stuck in that repetitive guilt, all of that, and lose that internal leadership, right? To be able to step out and guide your life in whatever direction that you want to.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's really what led me to this is, I didn't think I had a resource. I remember going online and really searching and trying to find the answer externally, when really had I known the work begins with me internally, but searching and really looking. And so that's what led me here is, after I sort of got through that and really was on the other side of it, I said, this is a resource that women really need, to really just have the support and guidance more than anything on, the answers are within us. And that's what I do is I really help women to find that within themselves.
And I think that is key. It's just foundational in anything that we do is it really does start within, whether it's with parenting, we've got to look at ourselves and how we're showing up in a relationship, in our business, in our career, all of it. It starts with looking from within to see how we can change. So how can you take this and look at it from, okay, so what is the opportunity here? What's one step that someone could start moving towards?
Yeah. So the first step is Healing is absolutely it. We have to heal. So even if you're making the decision to leave a divorce, excuse me, to get divorced, there is a component of healing.
Mhm.
Healing around, you're now going to be a single mom. What does that look like? Healing around bad decisions or mistakes that you think that you've made in the past, and not looking back anymore, but looking forward. And so I've developed these 6 pillars that I go through with my clients. And the first one is what I refer to as the clearing. And that's what it is. It's really clearing it out. It's getting rid of those, really looking at those old patterns that you've created over
Right.
time, and really deciding what you want to do moving forward so that you don't continue down that path of following the same process or making those same mistakes over and over again. So in that first pillar, what we look at is really establishing habits for ourselves.
Yes.
Habits,
Mhm.
that give us time to do things for ourselves. So that typically starts, I typically start with clients on, what are you doing in the morning? Because we always have more time when we decide we want to get up earlier, right? Get up to
Planning.
work out or whatever that might be
Mhm.
for each individual. But when we're exhausted after divorce and trying to balance everything, your career, your children, relationships, it's you give to everyone else but not to yourself. And so how about giving yourself just 30 minutes more in the morning to get up and have that quiet time where you can journal, you can
Mhm.
meditate, you can do some yoga,
You could
whatever you
dance.
say.
You could do
You can
anything
dance.
really, right? Like, what is it that's going to set your day up for success? That's going to get your mind in the game and clear, focused in direction of who you want to be and where you want to go for the day.
Exactly. And it's all about you. And that's
Mhm.
what I say to my clients is, it's not about getting things ready for the kids when they get up in the morning. It's not about, that work email that needs to go out. It's truly setting all of that aside. And what people find is they find those things that they forgot were lighting them up. And years
So
ago,
true.
before the marriage even,
Mhm.
of, oh my goodness, I used to love to write. And now I'm writing again. And, as some people it's, going for a walk first thing in the morning, so it really does, when you start to give yourself that space and time, you really start to realize that, wow, that I miss this
Mhm.
so much.
We can so easily disconnect from what lights us up because life can completely consume us. And I love how you were talking about habits. And for me, it's a lot of beliefs, right? What is the belief system that has us choosing the same thing over and over again? So, what are some habits? Like, what are some tangible habits that you could share with us that people could start to implement? And A, and then also B, second part of the question is, yeah, we know we need to, right? We should. We're shooting all over ourselves all the time. What are some ways that we can consistently implement, sustainably implement at least one small habit? Because we can so easily step over it.
Yes. So great questions. I'm going to start first with, what are the things that we can do to make it sustainable, because I think that that's really important. And one of the things that I tell my clients is to create what I refer to as a sanctuary.
Mhm.
So a place within your home that is yours and yours alone. It doesn't matter where it is or what it is, but whatever it is, it's only yours. And so surround yourself in that particular spot that you create with the things that you love. So whether that's quotes on the wall, whether that's really nice sunlight that comes in the morning, whether, it's the colors, your chair, whatever it is that is just for you, and create that space
Yeah.
so that you already know when you do start these habits, you can go to this place to really just relax, find peace and calm. And so then I start with the habits. So then we talk about, okay, So if you could commit for 1 week to getting up 30 minutes earlier every single day than you already do, let's start there. And then really it's about mindset. So what are the things that we can
It
do to
always is.
shift? Oh, it always is, right? It's that mind that's constantly telling us a story. And so, how can we shift the narrative a little bit? And so, a couple of different things that seem to work for my clients is affirmations. So, I love affirmations, and it's very difficult for people to say things to yourself out
Mhm.
loud. But what I've done is I've created sort of just this list that helps people so that they're not kind of like, oh, okay, let me come up with one this morning. There are different lists that you can just say to yourself. And one of the things that I like to tell clients is try when you're brushing your teeth or right after you get up and you're in the bathroom, saying it in the mirror.
Mm.
It's really incredible the impact it has when you can literally look at yourself and say it.
I just, I'd love to jump in here and
Yeah,
just say,
please do.
what do you recommend? Because what do you recommend for people who are not ready for that, right? They're
Yeah.
not ready to look in the mirror and say, I love you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What's a small step that can move them? Because for me and a lot of the women I've spoken with, that's a pretty big step when you're already feeling kind of crappy.
Yes, yes. So one of the other easy ones that I like to use is when you wake up in the morning and open your eyes, do nothing. So we all grab for our phones, right?
Mhm.
And oh, what text messages did I miss? You know, what does this person need or that person need? I challenge them to instead open your eyes and just lay there and do nothing else. I know. Nothing else but just listen. Force yourself to listen to what's happening outside your window. Is
Mhm.
there a bird? Is it traffic? Is there someone talking? Is there a dog barking? Lay there and focus on that for a minute. And do that just for, I don't know, really just a minute. So 60 seconds. Do that before your feet hit the floor.
I love that.
So that's one easy one. The other easy one that I started with was journaling. So in this sanctuary that my clients create and that I've created for myself even is I ask them to keep a journal that is, a color that they love with a pen that they love to write with, and to sit there and really just write about anything. I usually start people with three things that they're grateful for, and it doesn't need to be anything big. It could be that, the sun's coming through the window. It could
There's a hot
be
cup of coffee in my hand.
it's a hot cup of coffee. I mean, don't overthink it, and write about those things. And it again, that shifts your mindset. And
Mhm.
over time, clients will sometimes read some different inspirational books, and then they'll journal after they read, a quote, and what that meant for them. And so journaling is one that I've found with my clients is the easiest because you're really doing an activity. You're picking up, well, affirmations are an activity. They're much harder to say to yourself. I do know this. It takes time. But a journal is really just writing down what you're thinking in any moment.
Mhm.
And starting there, and I also do provide my clients with journaling prompts for different gratitude practices and things that they can be using to make that easy for them as well if they haven't journaled before in the past. So those are a couple of, there's many, many more, but those are a couple that seem to be the most effective for clients that I work with.
I love where you're going with just the ease of it, right? Take small steps. Small, consistent steps are what actually make it sustainable. I know for me, when I was going through a divorce, journaling really saved me. And I've never been a journaler, but it was where I was able to put my anger,
Mhm.
right through it so I could get it out, my joy, my exploration for the future. And it's, I think, sometimes hard to get started. But again, those very simple things, which are not always easy, but very, very simple, and starting small, I believe is the consistency is the key to consistency with habits. And
Yes.
what you're saying are these little pieces, like laying there, connecting and being present in the moment is such a beautiful way to start your day before your feet have even hit the floor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. There's a lot to navigate when you go through divorce. And I mean, we all go through different things in our lives, right?
Mhm.
And it's really about how do you quiet the noise so that you can see more clearly.
Yeah.
And, one of the other pillars that I have is around navigation and, how to navigate some of these challenging relationships
Beautiful.
that you have going forward. And it's a lot to have, be thinking about, schedules for the kids or co-parenting plans, communicating with your former spouse and what does that relationship look like? And so,
Mhm.
you really need to give yourself some grace, and also allow for yourself to set boundaries. And I know you love boundaries. I do read all of your things, Lisa, about boundaries, and I couldn't agree more how important they are to us. And I don't think we allow ourselves the opportunity to really be clear with ourselves. What do
Mhm.
we need? And so, in doing that, we can communicate clearly to other people around what those expectations are and what those things are that we need for ourselves, especially when we're thinking about navigating this new landscape of being a co-parent.
Mhm.
And
Boundaries are required.
absolutely, yes. So that's another area, so that's why I sort of start with the clearing because I think we need to heal
Mhm. Mhm.
first.
Oh,
And yeah,
I mean, that's laying the foundation, right? If you're not
exactly.
working on that healing component, everything that you're working on above that is really kind of built on a house of cards because when, let's admit, shit hits the fan and it's going to at some point, we need to be able to have that foundation to lean into.
Yes. And there's so much emotion. One of the things is you physically leave the marriage, but that emotional piece doesn't go away. And so, how do you really set boundaries around that? Because you are allowed to have a private life that is
Mhm.
just yours, and you don't need to share that with your former spouse.
And you don't need to apologize for it either.
Exactly. You do not need to apologize for it and should not apologize for that because you're not married anymore. And so you're allowed to set those boundaries around how you communicate with one another and what you're going to be doing when it comes to the kids, how you're going to be communicating, how you're going to set those clear expectations. Those are boundaries that are really, really important. And then keeping in mind that the kids are the when it comes to co-parenting, the most important thing is your children, right? And making sure that they feel loved and supported through the whole process.
And that's what I believe you were just saying with the boundaries and making sure that you have those boundaries in place are actually going to support the children because there's going to be this is okay, this is not okay
Mhm.
for all involved, which can decrease aggravation, arguments, what all of the things that come along with divorce. You can't believe it, but we are at time. I mean, just
Wow,
we
that
only get to
flew
two of these
by.
pillars. So everyone definitely reach out to Crissy. And I'd love to ask you one question before we sort of lean into you sharing all about where people can contact you. But what is one habit or boundary that has supported you in living and leading a more sustainable life?
Sure. I would say, well, definitely habit. I mean, we talked about this already, but it has to be journaling. I mean, I've been doing that for the past probably 3 years now, and I can't live without it. I do it every single day consistently, and don't miss a day. So that would be the habit for me. In terms of boundaries, I would say that the boundaries for me are about my time.
Mhm.
I have created time in my day, which is my mornings, and that's my time. And I do not look at emails. I do not respond to text messages. Yep. That is my time. And so that is a boundary that I put in place and have continued to maintain for myself.
Beautiful. What amazing support. And that allows you to step forward from a really incredibly grounded place, I would imagine.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Where can people reach out to you? And I know that you have a free gift, which is the 6 pillars, is it?
No, actually, my free gift is I do have a guide, which is 3 ways to create a healthy co-parenting relationship after divorce.
Mhm.
And so I will go ahead and put that in the comments section for people to find a link to that. And then people can reach me at ChrissyFreemanCoaching.com. That's my website. And on there is also, if people want to set up a free discovery call, which is where we take 30 minutes to just talk about what I do and whether or not we think it would be a fit going forward.
Please reach out to her. If you reach out on LinkedIn, mention that you saw her on the live, please. And thank you for everything. I really do appreciate it. This is such powerful information, and it does completely go out into every area of our life, right? When we can start taking control again. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Right. Next week, March 15th, I have Janice Shade here. She's going to be talking about supporting a growing movement of democratic access to capital, that sustainable access. So I'm really excited for that conversation. Thanks again for joining us today. I really do appreciate it. We'll see you next week, 10 a.m. East Coast, 7 a.m. Pacific. Thanks again, Crissy. We'll talk to you later. Bye.